Hello, and welcome to the virtual public meeting for the Route 9 Corridor Safety and Operations Study. Thank you for your interest in the Route 9 Corridor. The purpose of this public input meeting is to obtain your feedback on corridor issues and to provide an opportunity to learn more about the study. This meeting will be conducted in a virtual manner due to COVID-19 restrictions and pursuant to the Continuity of Operations Ordinance, which was adopted by the Loudoun County Board of Supervisors on April 15, 2020. In these challenging times, the county has been doing its best to move forward on all priority tasks, but especially those that impact safety and quality of life. Displayed here is a summary of topics we will touch on during this presentation. We'll start with providing background to the project, followed by a summary of preliminary findings from data collection, which took place in May of 2019. We'd also like to take a moment to describe the public input process and additional resources that are available to the public, including options for individuals who may prefer not to access web-based information. Then briefly, we'll introduce the survey that will be available for you to provide direct input into the study process. And lastly, we will touch upon the near-term next steps for the study. We hope you find the information helpful as you learn more about the study. Your participation is critical to the success of this project, and we look forward to your input to support our next steps. The study area for this project extends along the Route 9 corridor, from the West Virginia border to the west, down to the Route 7 interchange to the east. This corridor is approximately 13 miles long. The purpose of this study is to take a refreshed look at the existing safety and operations conditions along Route 9. In addition to the technical analyses to support that review, the study will include a robust community and public input process. This will include regular meetings with a corridor focus group, as well as public input meetings throughout the project. This is the first of those public input meetings. The outcome of this study will be a set of recommendations for phased improvements. These will include short-term, mid-term, and long-term improvements along Route 9. You may be asking, what is a safety and operational study for a corridor, and what does that entail? As the name conveys, it is a combination of two types of transportation studies, safety and operations. Loudoun County is conducting safety and operational studies on a variety of rural corridors in the county, and I'll take a moment to describe what those studies typically involve. A safety study examines existing roadway conditions and includes a review of crash history on the corridor, including hotspots. These hotspots are locations where clusters of crashes have occurred. Hotspots can indicate a location that deserves more detailed evaluation in order to identify roadway improvements to address those safety problems. Typically, recommendations from a safety study include low-cost measures, such as new or modified signs, signals, and pavement markings, among others. These can be implemented relatively quickly. Sometimes longer-term improvements are necessary that involve additional right-of-way and roadway reconstruction. An operations study examines existing and future traffic volumes and how traffic flows along the corridor and among the various intersections. It quantifies the level of existing and estimated future congestion so that improvements can be identified to alleviate existing and future congestion. Typically, such improvements can include short-term, mid-term, and long-term solutions. In addition to the community and public input process, the Route 9 Corridor Safety and Operations Study involves these primary tasks or activities as shown on this slide. We started with data collection and preliminary analysis of existing conditions. Our next step is to estimate future traffic volumes for years 2030 and 2040. Alternatives will be developed to improve on existing and future safety and operations conditions. And following an evaluation of alternatives, a recommended set of improvements will be finalized and findings will be documented. You may be wondering where we are in that series of steps I just described. Shown here is a schedule of activities for the study. In May 2019, we started by performing traffic data collection, which was prior to the start of the roadway construction that was initiated on Route 9 in and around Hillsborough. Since that time, we have summarized data and completed our technical assessment of existing conditions. We are now starting to develop estimated traffic volumes, or forecasts, for future years. You'll see that we are currently holding this first public input meeting in mid-July. Following this meeting, we will start the development of alternatives, after which we will come back to the community to showcase alternatives and seek feedback. From there, the study team will conclude on a final set of recommendations, and those will also be presented to the community in a third public meeting. To complete the corridor study, we will document the findings and recommendations and present them to the Loudoun County Board of Supervisors. We anticipate concluding the study at the end of 2021 or early 2022. I'll now spend a few minutes explaining what information we've gathered and share some of the preliminary findings about the corridor's existing conditions. For the study, we collected a variety of data to help identify, locate, and quantify the challenges on the corridor. This included obtaining traffic counts of turning movements at intersections, as well as through traffic volumes at key locations along Mainline Route 9. We also captured mainline travel speeds on Route 9. In addition, we gathered travel time data during peak periods. Travel time data is literally just as the term implies. It is the time it takes to get from point A to point B along the full length of the corridor. We also collected information on vehicle queues at intersections during peak hours. A queue is essentially a line or series of vehicles that are stopped at an intersection or at a bottleneck location. I'll pause there just for a moment, as you may be asking why this information is needed or how it's used. This data not only helps describe the level of the operational problems or the congestion, but it is also used to validate our computer models of traffic conditions. We use this information to create a robust model that simulates or replicates existing traffic conditions so that we can use that same model as a starting point for analyzing future travel conditions. That way, we can have the utmost confidence in our analysis of alternatives, as we have based it on accurate existing conditions. We also collected crash data for a 5.5-year period from January 2014 through May 2019, and we have a geolocated drive-through video of the entire corridor, which helps the study team review the corridor remotely from our offices. In May 2019, we collected traffic counts at 15 key intersections along the corridor as shown on this map. This information was collected during most of the day, but we'll be focusing on using the volumes from peak commuting periods in the morning and evening. We also collected throughput traffic counts on Route 9, or more simply, the number of vehicles that passed a certain point for a continuous 24-hour period. We collected these at 7 locations along the corridor. And at those same 7 locations is also where the speed data was collected. The travel speed data is summarized on this chart. I'm going to spend some time describing what you're seeing here and what it means. The labels running left to right across the bottom of the chart represent the 7 locations where speed was collected along the corridor. The vertical labels along the left side of the chart represent the speed in miles per hour. The white dashed lines indicate the posted speed limit at the given location shown. At location 7, you'll notice we have 2 dashed white lines, as the posted speed is different in each direction at the spot where we collected travel speed data. The red bars show the 85th percentile speed at that particular location on Route 9. The 85th percentile speed is a measure used frequently in traffic studies, and the term means 85% of drivers are traveling at that speed or below that speed. For example, if you look at the red bar on the left for location 1, if you consider the speed of every vehicle that passed that point on the road, 85% of those vehicles are traveling 57 miles per hour or lower. And generally speaking, the 85th percentile speed is considered the speed at which a reasonable driver would travel given the feel and conditions of the road. Some key findings from the speed data. Let's take a look at the segments with the posted speed limit of 45 miles per hour. You'll notice the 85th percentile speed was observed to be between 6 to 11 miles per hour over the posted speed limit in these areas. You'll also notice location 2 between Harpers Ferry and Hillsborough Road reflects a lower 85th percentile speed, even within the 50 mile per hour posted speed limit section. This is reflecting what we and many of you may have expected. That is, reduced travel speeds into and out of the town of Hillsborough, where the posted speed is 25 miles per hour. The rolling queues are preventing higher speeds and free-flowing traffic, as drivers are adjusting their speed coming into or out of the 25 mile per hour zone. The safety data is also a critical component of the data collection effort. We gathered data on crashes from January 2014 to May 2019. In reviewing the crash data, what we're looking for are commonalities or trends in certain locations to identify specific issues that could be addressed with engineering changes in the roadway or driver behavior changes. We also look at the location of crashes. This map here is called a heat map, and the locations on that map with the darker magenta or pink tone represent areas where there are clusters of crashes or where more crashes occurred within a relatively close proximity to each other. For example, that larger pink spot in the center of the corridor is the intersection of Route 9 and Route 287. This larger dark magenta color around the intersection is saying that there was a relatively higher number of crashes more densely clustered together in this one spot. The good news is there's already a proposed project to improve that intersection. This map is based on just the total number of crashes. Next, I'm going to update the map to show you how we also look at crashes that are more severe in nature, specifically those crashes with fatalities or serious injuries. When we take a look at those severe crash clusters, you can see on this version of the map that some other locations pop out as being more prominent than they were in the previous map. For example, looking to the area to the far west, right around the country store and Sagal Road. The study team used all of this data and conducted a field safety assessment in early October 2019, where we observed traffic operations and driver behavior at several of these hotspots and along the corridor as a whole. This information was used to help identify opportunities to improve safety in these areas. The technical data we've described so far is very important to identifying and quantifying the problems and challenges along the corridor. Another key aspect of this study is gathering information from the community. We're doing this in two ways. The first of which includes regular meetings with a focus group. This focus group includes representatives of business, interest groups, and HOAs along Route 9. The focus group held their first meeting earlier this year, and we will meet a few more times throughout the study. It's an opportunity to gain feedback to support the technical approach, and we hope this group will be a conduit to the rest of the community in communicating information about the study and upcoming public input meetings. The public input meetings will be meetings open to the public where presentations, material, and project updates will be provided, along with feedback opportunities. We hope to receive a broad range of community input, and we hope the community will play an active role by attending these meetings to share knowledge of the corridor and provide perspective. The first of these public input meetings is being conducted virtually, and this pre-recorded presentation is being provided as part of that experience, along with display boards and an opportunity to submit questions or participate in a live Q&A session on July 16th. The purpose of this first meeting is to obtain feedback on your experience driving the corridor, as well as input on the challenges and problems you experience. In just a moment, I'll explain how we'll gather that information. There will be 2 more public input meetings throughout the study, specifically to present alternatives and to present recommendations. There are many ways to seek information and provide feedback as part of this Route 9 corridor study. There is a project webpage that contains a summary of the project, updates, and available materials. You can find this at www.loudoun.gov/Route9. If you would like to receive updates on the Route 9 corridor study, you can also subscribe to receive email updates. Under the section of the project webpage that says, "Stay informed about this project," you will find a link to subscribe to receive updates when they're made available. If you're watching this presentation, you likely already found that we also have a virtual public meeting webpage with material related to this first public input meeting. We hope that you will also talk about the story and share more about this project with your neighbors, friends, and others in the community. Lastly, if you have any questions as the study advances, please submit those questions to the special project email address, which is route9@loudoun.gov. For those individuals who would prefer to provide their feedback through a traditional paper survey, please see the number here or email the project address. The phone number to request those materials is 703-737-8299. The paper package of materials will include this presentation, the display boards, and a questionnaire. Those can be picked up at the Office of the Department of Transportation and Capital Infrastructure at the address shown here, or it can be mailed to you. If you choose to return a paper survey, we are requesting that all paper surveys to be mailed and postmarked on or before Friday, July 31st, 2020. For those who would prefer an electronic web-based survey, that survey will be available to fill out and submit electronically starting July 10th. The survey will be open for responses through Friday, July 31st. When you access the survey, it will walk you through a series of questions regarding your travel experiences and your opinions about Route 9. It also includes questions about your priorities for the corridor. One element of the survey involves providing important feedback to describe your corridor experiences at different locations. Here, we really want to know where you are experiencing problems and what types of problems they are. In this section, you'll be given access to maps along the corridor. These maps can be marked with your thoughts regarding your experience. There is also an option to bypass this exercise if you only prefer to answer the specific questions. We'd like to emphasize that your feedback is of utmost importance to this study team. You live and drive Route 9, and we want to know what you know and what you think. So we hope you will complete the survey and contribute to the success of the project for the Western Loud community and the traveling public. We'd like to close by informing you of the next steps for the study. The study team will continue to develop those estimates of future traffic volumes to support development of longer-term improvement alternatives. There will also be a second meeting with the focus group to share more updates and to discuss the outcome of this first public input meeting. The next technical step will be to develop alternatives to improve safety and operational conditions along Route 9, and then to evaluate those alternatives, working towards a recommended concept. We thank you for your interest in the Route 9 Corridor Safety and Operational Study, and hope you will take the time to explore the project webpage and the public input meeting webpage. If you're watching this video prior to July 16, 2020, we also invite you to join us for the live virtual Q&A session with the study team. That starts at 6 p.m. The study team will take the first 30 minutes of the live session to answer as many questions as possible from topics that were submitted by the public in advance of the meeting. Thereafter, the live virtual meeting will be open for questions from attendees who have requested an opportunity to speak. We look forward to hearing your thoughts and answering your questions. This concludes the presentation. We hope you stay well, and we look forward to interacting more directly with you and the community soon.